Hi, my name is Steve Clifford, and today we're going to talk about something that I have discussed in a video before, but I think it's time to revisit it and give some more details and get into it a little bit deeper. But before I do, let's talk about this real quick. Yes, I have an unloaded gun, but I also don't have a cameraman today. So if at any point during this video the muzzle comes across, I'm not pointing it at anybody. Least of all you, because you're on the internet. So that's the story with pointing the gun in the direction of the camera. All right, let's talk about ready positions and carry positions. If you've read up on the fundamentals of a rifle, you've learned some different carry positions and some different ready positions. So, and if you've taken any classes, same thing. You're going to learn two of each. So the basic carry positions are what is called American style, which is over the strong side shoulder, muzzle up. And then the other is African style, which is muzzle down over the support side. And if you take a class, you will very quickly learn to like this method a lot. This is a fast way to get a gun into action, and that's because it takes so little to do it. You grab the fore end, you bring it up across your chest, and you're ready to go. It just rotates right into place as you bring the gun up. Randy Kane has a cool demonstration at his class. He'll have one student with the gun African style on the sling and another with a sidearm, and he'll put a target at 15 yards and he'll call for a headshot. It's a man on man to see who can be the fastest. The guy with the pistol comes out of leather, and then the guy with the rifle comes out, and generally the guy with the rifle wins. It's that fast. So even at so-called pistol differences or distances, the rifle does really well out of the African style. Okay, you're also going to learn two ready positions. And one ready position is called low ready, and that is where you're going to have the stock already up against the pocket of your shoulder and the muzzle's going to be down. This is a very tactical way to carry a rifle. You see a target, you just have to bring the gun up. It's already in the pocket. There's no mounting of the gun. It's already mounted. Very, very fast. And that's why you'll see law enforcement and different military operators, if you see video of them breaching into somewhere, they're all in the low ready because they want to be ready to go just the instant that a legitimate target presents itself. The other ready position is what is called high ready, and this one, you set the gun on your strong side hip. The muzzle is going to be roughly at eye level, and you'll hear the instructor remind you, eyes, muzzle, target. And when he calls for you to shoot, bring the gun up, just like that. And within a second and a half, you should be able to execute a snapshot out to about 50 yards. So it's also very fast. Then you'll get into the positional shooting, the supported positions like knee, sitting, squat, and prone. All of those positions take a little longer to get into, and while you are getting into them, you need to loop up your sling. And they always say, well, if you have time to get into a supported position, you have time to loop up your sling. I actually don't buy that. If you're walking through the woods like I do in the fall, and a deer jumps into the field 150 yards away, when you go down, oh, I need to sling up. You've just introduced some motor skills into the situation. And by adding in those motor skills at a time when your adrenaline is high, sometimes things can't work the way they're supposed to, or the way they did at the range. Now, I'm not a gunfighter. I've never been in a gunfight. I don't claim to be one. But I tend to think that if somebody were able to shoot back at me, there might even be more adrenaline. And that is a time when looping up, that may be too much. So Yes, you want to be looped up because it gives you considerably more stability. It makes you your first round hit more probable, but what it costs you in time. The other thing that it costs you is motion. So if you're just going to drop down into position, that didn't take a huge amount of motion. But if you have to loop up in the process, you're swinging your arm around, that can draw attention. That's horizontal motion, and sometimes that can get you busted by a deer. And again, I'm not a gunfighter, but I gotta imagine if somebody is able to shoot back at you, that motion could draw enough attention to cause problems for you. So, how do we deal with that? Well, years ago I came up with an idea on this, and I started carrying my rifle a little bit different. I don't carry my rifle over my shoulder anytime that I have a loaded gun. And by loaded, I mean chambered. If there is a round in the chamber, my mindset is I need to be ready to shoot right now. And I want to be as ready as I possibly can be. So I loop up, I chamber the rifle, I loop up, I start hiking. And I put the gun on my hip, and once the gun is on my hip, my arm muscles are not supporting this gun. The sling is supporting the gun, but the sling is pulling against my arm, but I'm not using muscle tension. This is all skeletal support. This is not muscle tension. So I can hike for hours like this. It's a very comfortable way to hike. It leaves my arms free. If I need to open a gate, if I need to move bushes out of the way. Because my muscles aren't actually holding the gun up, I can let go of the gun and I can use binoculars to check targets downrange. So it keeps me looped up. So what happens if I see something that needs shot? Well, let's say it's a snapshot. There's going to be very little difference in my time between that and a high ready position. I don't have the eyes muzzle target because the muzzle is off to my left. But if there's a target out there, I don't think a shot timer is going to notice much, if any, difference between that on a snapshot. Now, being looped up doesn't help you for a snapshot. It doesn't hurt either. Some people like it, but it really doesn't help you. But it doesn't hurt. So if a snapshot presents itself, take it. You don't have to unloop. What happens if you're hiking like this and you see something that is 150 yards away? You drop down to sitting and you're already looped up. You already have this thing high on your arm. It doesn't take any adjustment. You're ready to go. There's nothing else that needs to happen. You just concentrate on your crosshair because you've achieved natural point of aim because you already had the sling looped up. It's the same with the kneeling position. Again, I already have the sling in the correct position. So it is a really effective way to get yourself into a shooting position. Now, prone, it causes a little bit of problem there, but not a huge one. With practice, you can still go down into prone and have the sling in position, but sometimes you might go down a little awkwardly and the sling might slip down lower than it should. Well, no big deal, just pull it up. But at least you don't have to start from scratch, putting your arm through the sling and looping it up. So I've used this method with the 3-point Ching Sling. I've used it with the Rhodesian sling and with a CW sling, so it works with all three. I've never used the Galco Riflemann sling, but I imagine it would work fine for that. I don't know why it wouldn't work with a cuff sling. Any type of sling that is going to be a loop around above your tricep and you're looped into it up front here, it'll work, or at least it should work. So give it a try with a cuff sling and leave your experiences in the comments if you have one. So I don't have a name for this. Some people saw my previous video and said, well, that's prison guard carry. Well, I've seen prison guard carry, and they do carry a shotgun on their hip, but in those cases, they're not using the sling, and they're using muscle support to hold the gun up. Again, this doesn't require any muscle support. So if you come up with a name for this, I'd love to hear it. It's not out there yet, so it's available. There is a variation on this, and that is to stick the gun under your arm, and you can set it up like that. It's not quite as fast, but it's still really stinking fast, but it's muzzle down. Now, keep one thing in mind with this. This might not be a good carry method if you're on a trail or with other people, because as you're walking along, if you get lazy with it, sometimes the muzzle can come up a little bit more than you would like. Depends on the terrain. Be careful with it. Be aware of your muzzle discipline when you're in this position. And by the way, this position there is a name for. The last time I did this video, somebody said, it looks like you're carrying a French baguette. And then other people started commenting on Facebook, where's that video of that guy carrying the baguette? Well, this is baguette carry, so we'll go with that. But whichever one of these positions you decide, you're going to find that it is incredibly fast to get into those supported positions and be able to engage effectively with the sling where it needs to be. I don't quite understand why this hasn't been picked up before, and maybe if somebody wants to tell me, and maybe it's just because it's not a range technique. This isn't something that you would use at the range, and maybe that's why they don't teach it in classes, because it really isn't conducive to what they're doing out there. But it's a really good field technique, and it's something that if your mindset is to be ready to shoot, why wouldn't you do this? You bought the scout rifle because you wanted one gun to handle any situation. Well, switch yourself on and make sure that you're in the position to use it for whatever presents itself, no matter what. If it's 25 yards, if it's 250 yards, make sure that you and the gun are ready to make that shot. So I hope this has been a helpful video. If it has, please, I would encourage you to share this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And as always, thank you for watching.